Okay, so number one is about the Universe app. The Universe app is cool because it shows you the perspective how big such small things are in relation to other objects. Um, number two is about the sorry. Number two is about the if you were standing on the equator, how fast would you be moving? You'd be moving at 1,000 miles per hour relative to the Earth's rotation in 24 hours, but it gets a lot faster if you take into account the Earth's rotation around the sun, uh, our galaxy's movement speed, our solar system's movement speed. So, in actuality, uh, taking into account everything, it's 7,506,537 miles per hour. Relative to ourselves, just standing there, it's 0 miles per hour. So, technically, they're all correct. Um, The measurements can be relative to other objects, like for instance, our sun is small compared to the Andromeda galaxy, yet super massive when compared to a small asteroid or a meteorite. Uh, and we have to use scientific notation because numbers are extremely small and large. So I think it's talking about the Universe app using scientific notation because the galaxies and nebulas are extremely huge. So it's easier to do it that way. Number two is about misleading graphs. Yeah. Um, People would want, okay, so this is why people would want to make a misleading graph. The reason is because they might want to fool the person they're showing or make the stats seem exaggerated or closer together. Starting a graph with with very small decimals or percentages makes stats seem closer together, and the opposite is also true. Also, making the x-axis bars closer or farther apart. So, um, like the bowling scores here, you can see the bottom one, 0 to 20 and 20 to 40. Those bars are close together. But on top of that, 105 to 110 to 115, those bars are farther apart. So it makes the stat seem farther apart, especially when the numbers are closer together. If you measure the numbers very close and put the bars far apart, it makes the stat seem exaggerated, which is what I was just talking about. Pie chart is misleading, is very misleading because it doesn't even change the numbers. It just straight up lies about the size, perspective. The pie is not split correctly. So, um, where's that at? Oh, it's to the left. Um, well, okay, there it is. It didn't even, wasn't loaded in yet. Sorry about that. This Zoom thing is in my way from moving to the left, but that was referring to this news graph here, which shows 50 million is almost the exact same size as 85 million, which is not accurate. And the 10 million is almost as big as the 50 million, even though it should be only a fifth of the size. So, and as 265 million is half, but the other three combined do not make half. 265 million should be way bigger. So that's completely probably the most misleading one. Number three is about obesity in America. The population during this survey was 326,213,213, and 93 million people were obese during this, apparently. I sorted the numbers by putting the percentage of Americans on one Venn diagram and the probability on the other one. So on the left here, it's the number of Americans in millions, and on the right is the probability they have. In my state of Arkansas, the stats would be inflated because our rates are ranked number 7 compared to other states, so they would be higher. Oh, I'll skip number 3. The probability of having all 3, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and being obese, is very low because type 2 diabetes is only 0.1%, so having all 3 would be even more rare. Having at least one is very common, actually, at 63%, even though individually they're small percentages. Number 4 is about heights. The tighter the data point shows a potential trend, but if the points are far apart and spread out, the trend is harder to identify. So on the left, the Army Ranger recruits, the points are close together, so you can see that the trend is that they're all around the same height. But the one on the right in the mall, the points are spread out, so you can't really identify a trend. It's kind of just random. The coefficient of variation is basically how far apart the data points are, and how much they vary. I think that's what it is anyway. I didn't look too much into it, but quantity calculated to indicate the extent of deviation for a group as a whole. The reason for the close spread on the Rangers recruits is because, I don't know why it isn't showing it, but it's because they're all males, whereas the mall shoppers are females mixed in, different races of different heights, things like that. Oh, there it is. The meaning and the changes. So this, the next one now. The meaning and the changes is that different people have different sleeping arrangements. This is about college students sleeping. The probability of falling in between the deviations is the same as if you sleep on even hours. My Z-score was around 7 on the average weeknight, which is also in the middle, as you can see in the survey. The medium, I don't know why it cuts to income, but the median American income is $49,445. The average household income is different because there are very many factors involved, and you cannot have a standard measure of income because there's more than one person. That graph hasn't loaded in yet for some reason. The first axis, this is about Elon Musk and his flamethrowers. The first axis is how much he initially invested in flamethrowers, which is $12,000. The bottom dollar on the table shows negative 12,000, while the graph just shows zero profit. There it is. So you can see it just shows zero profit, but the actual thing shows negative 12,000 at the start. At a little over 200 sold, Elon had broke even on investment and return. To make at least 90,000, Elon had to sell a little less than 500 flamethrowers. And this was asking about the financial roller coaster of starting a business. And starting a business is risky because you have to take out a business loan, spend money on the material required to produce the product or provide the service, producing the product, any employees, the rent of the building if you choose to do that, and marketing, all of that. And you have to make enough profit to continually keep the business alive and provide enough for yourself. And that's it.